Hello, everybody. I am Doug Morris, the CEO of Sharesight. Thank you very much for joining us today for the webinar. I am also joined by Priyanka, who's a member of our product team and who is instrumental in helping to plan and build some of the new features that we'll show you today. So as you can see there, the title of today's presentation is Stay Ahead of the Market with a New Income Calendar. So we've got not just the calendar, but actually a range of improvements to our dividend handling and our reporting features. So if you're particularly interested in dividend income or distribution income from ETFs, hopefully this session will be useful for you. Please feel free to jot down any questions in the Q&A feature during the webinar, and then we'll circle back to those at the end. And we're also recording this, I believe, as well. So this will be available to you and to others after the webinar. So with that, let's just get straight in. So just a quick bit of housekeeping. None of this should be considered financial advice. So we don't hold an AFSL at Sharesight. I'm not a financial advisor. We're not tax advisors. We're just a software company. So anything you see or hear from me today or anything you see in the portfolio I'm using is purely my own personal stuff, so to speak. So please keep that in mind and consult a professional if you do have any investment or tax related questions. All right, so with that, I might just jump right into the product and I will just kind of start going through some of the new features and highlight things. So what I've got here is a portfolio. This is an Australian account. I should add that. So if you're not in Australia, you might see some different features than you're used to, but this is an Australian tailored account, despite my accent, but that's another story for another time. And this is a premium plan. So this gives me access to 10 portfolios and essentially all the features that we make available at Sharesight. This is a semi-real portfolio. So it's just kind of a facsimile of some of the investment decisions I've actually made, which I think helps me talk a bit more credibly about some of these features. So what I'll do is I might just jump into a holding straight away just to show off a few of our dividend features and give you perhaps a refresher in some of the things that we do. So I'll go into CBA, Commonwealth Bank, which of course is been a standout performer, and of course is a dividend bearing stock as well, paying fully franked dividends, which we love here in Australia. So one thing in terms of how we track the dividends, you can see my trades and adjustments here at the top, and you can see the dividends paid down at the bottom. So we've changed the layout of this page a bit. So this information is all now housed in the trades and income section. And it's obviously very straightforward. You can open up the dividends, you can examine the franking credits and the gross amounts and the net amounts and everything like that. Just another, I suppose, point of portfolio housekeeping. We do have a dividend reinvestment feature at Sharesight, and it now lives in the edit holding tab of the holding page. So if you tick this box and you apply changes, your dividends will be reinvested as buy trades automatically on your behalf. And you can see some of those that I've actually done in CBA here, reinvestment on the 20th of March last year, the 27th of September, and so on. So it's a terrific way to help automate some of the nasty portfolio admin that comes with DRPs. So just a couple of notes on dividends. Additionally, back on the summary tab, we've added a couple of new data points on the right-hand side. You can see we now have cost-based information. We have target prices, by the way. You can add a target price too, which is something that we've added recently. And then at the bottom there, you can see dividend insights. So we're now showing dividend yield and yield on cost, as well as the payment frequency of the dividends as well. So just a couple of more additional data points for dividend investors, which we hope come and use. We're open to feedback on this too. Something that I've heard quite a bit of, when we're at trade shows and doing presentations and demos and whatnot, people do want more fundamental information about investments from a kind of a research standpoint. So it is something we're considering. So if you are keen to see more, please do let us know in the comments or follow up with our customer support team. Right. So let me move back to the overview page. And I also want to just mention something here that is quite useful that I'm not sure many customers are aware about. Well, maybe not many, but maybe not most, we'll say. This is our custom investment feature. So if you add a new holding to Sharesight, what you can do is you can basically synthesize an investment. And what I've done in this case, I've created a term deposit. And the lovely thing about our term deposit functionality, or I should say our fixed interest functionality, is that you can set a price, of course, you can give it a name, you can give it a description and all that, but you can also apply an automated income frequency. So you can see in this case, I have interest payments that are calculated at 4.45% per annum. And I've also set the fact that the payments are coming in monthly. And you can see all that information over here on the income details pane. So all of those were set by me when I created this investment. And so all of this information is included in the performance of your portfolio, and all of these past and future income events will be considered on the reports as well. So if you've got something like term deposits or fixed interests or bonds or rental property, anything, bearing a yield, you can manage that using our custom investment functionality, which is really, really quite good. I should also add too that we're currently exploring looking at bonds as well. So we're talking to our data provider about bringing in a bond universe, which is particularly useful depending on what type of investor you are, specifically our professional customers, financial advisors, and family offices. So that should be coming in the new year. And then just touching on some of the reports, I suppose. One way that I like to examine all of my dividends in one quick go, I like to work in a spreadsheet still, which is a bit ironic given that I'm the CEO of Sharesight and we sort of remove a lot of the necessity of using a spreadsheet, but I do like to get my hands on a spreadsheet. Taxable income report, I find, is a really quick way to just look at and see and sort and rank and it's almost like interact with my dividends. And I like to just export this to Excel, and it comes out in a really nice pre-formatted format with filters and all that already built in. So if that is, your workflow, I'd encourage you to explore our export functionality too, because it's actually gotten a lot better over the years on our reports as well. The final thing, just final kind of, I suppose, income and dividend and cash and yield primer. If you are using our cash account functionality, in this case, I've added a cash account manually. You can see it at the bottom of the screen here. I'm calling it the settlement account. I've put in just a starting balance here back in 2020 of $25,000. But the really nice thing now is we've added a lot of functionality for synchronizing this account with your buy and sell trades and also your dividend payments as well. So if you go into the settings menu of the portfolio and you've added that cash account, you have to add the cash account for this to show up. You can now see a range of options here for synchronizing the cash account. So this is really designed to act as a proxy for like your CDIA account if you're using ComSec, which is really the settlement account. So it'll listen for those buys and sells, and it'll make debits and credits automatically. And it now will do the dividends and distribution payouts as well. We've received quite a bit of feedback on this to add different currency options to this, so we're exploring that as well. So so anyway, just a few kind of tips to get started on some of the things we've added for income investors. So I guess changing gears a bit here, we'll kind of go into the more reporting side of things. I suppose one thing that I always like to highlight when we do these is our benchmarking feature, because I think in the case of income investing, it's quite interesting. I have an ETF set as my benchmark here. This is the Vanguard Diversified Conservative Index. It's basically like a government bond and a safe corporate bond ETF, which is distributed locally here in Australia. You can see the returns are what they are. It's it's a conservative index. It's not going to shoot the lights out. But kind of turning my brain to thinking about dividends and what I could be achieving, I suppose, based on the investment decisions I'm making for income versus what set and forget ETF could give me. One of the most popular ETFs here in Australia is the Vanguard High Yield. So what I've done, I've just changed that ETF to be VHY, which indeed is the Vanguard High Yield. I own this directly as well, but it is just it does what it says on the box. It's just a dividend beast. Again, this is not an endorsement or for Vanguard or anything like that. But I suppose if I'm thinking about dividends and how to track them and compare my performance against them as an income investor, it makes sense to me anyway to compare my investment decisions with an ETF that's going to be producing a lot of, going to be buying a lot of really strong yield-bearing stocks. And you can see in this case, dividends on a per annum basis for VHY are almost 9.5%. compared to the 3% I've done in my portfolio. So just another way to kind of use our benchmarking feature in a more, not just like how am I going against the index, but in a more hypothetical, okay, well, what if I shifted some of my assets over to a yield-bearing ETF, which I think is something perhaps worth considering. All right. So why don't we switch now into the reports tab. Oh, I should mention too, I was reminded by a member of our staff about a new feature that's coming that's been requested quite a bit. Let me go back into my CBA holding, just as an example. Sorry for the quick change of gears. You'll know if you've been using Sharesight, when you receive income or when corporate actions happen, like share splits or things like that, you'll get these unconfirmed transactions that appear in these yellow orange bubbles. You can see in this case, I had 8 to tidy up in my CBA holding. A bugbear for our customers has been having to go into each holding individually and confirm these, which can be quite time consuming. So what we're about to release is a new piece of functionality that'll be right at the top, which is called tasks. I think it's called tasks, right? Yeah, it's called tasks. And you'll go into tasks and it'll have all the unconfirmed transactions and things you need to think about, tidy up for the whole portfolio in one location. So it's a couple of clicks. I've seen it. We have it available to us internally in our testing environment. It's great. And it'll save you a lot of time when it comes to dividend and distribution payouts. So anyway, that's my new feature announcement that should be coming before the end of the calendar year. All right. So anyway, back to the performance report. So I suppose, like I showed with the export of the taxable income report, if you want to kind of get a handle and just eyeball all your dividends in one place, another way to do that is on performance report. And I think what's interesting that's happened at Sharesight is our homepage, the overview page where we started this demonstration, has become really feature rich, and it does most of what investors need. You know, as you kind of log in, you want to check your portfolio, do some stack ranking, change the benchmark, whatever. That page has kind of outpaced the performance report. Now we have added some improvements here, notably the heat map chart that you see here. You can also apply labeling here as well. In this report, we will be addressing most likely next year, but it does have some little things that are quite nice. And what I wanted to show here, just in terms of dividends, if you opt to ungroup your investments, you can then move down to the table and you can do a quick rank of the dividend income across your entire portfolio, right? So this is just a quick way to say that, all right, what are my best dividend performers? What are my worst dividend performers? What's going on with CSL? I'm down, almost $13,000 in terms of capital loss, but it's provided almost $1,000 in dividends. How do I evaluate that disparity as an investor? Same with BHP and even Woodside in this example as well. So it's just a nice way to have quick comparisons. We've also added some new functionality in terms of the ability to edit the columns, and we're going to be fleshing this out much more. But this is probably best demonstrated in another report I'm about to show you. But just keep that in mind as well. You can edit the columns in your tables as well. And again, all this is exportable to Excel, which is, if that's your thing, by all means, export it to Excel and do all your analysis and your sorting over there. All right. Moving through the reports, the next one, I suppose, just worth considering from an investment decision-making standpoint is drawdown risk. And I think it is applicable to dividend investing. What this report does, if you're not familiar with it, is it examines the relationship between price volatility, notably drawdown, and performance. And what's great is the visuals that we've applied to this report. So you can see in this case, just so you're aware, I've got this mega disparity in terms of what's going on here. What you want to be is you want to have your investments in the top left quadrant. I don't have any in the top left quadrant, which is, I suppose, a bit embarrassing for this demonstration, but I'll explain why. You don't want to be bottom right because that indicates high levels of price drawdown historically with poor returns. But what's happening here is that this is really skewed. And the reason this report is so skewed is because I own a small position in Drone Shield, which has certainly been in the news the last couple of days. And really what Sharesight is showing me is that my return has been fantastic at 270%, but my drawdown has been 77%. That's very, very volatile. If I click Drone Shield, it'll take it away from the chart. And now I've got a more accurate representation of my risk and return analysis with the size of the circles corresponding to the positions, the size of the positions on a dollar basis. So What's really cool about this is if we think about this as dividend investors, right, and decision making, if I apply a custom grouping, which I've created for today's demonstration called growth slash yield, it's now going to bucket all of my underlying holdings into two um, sort of mega buckets, if you like. And what you can see here is I have a much less busy chart, and I have my yield investments over here, which have produced a return of nearly 14% and a drawdown of only 18.5%, compared to my growth investments, which have produced a return of 21%, but a drawdown of 39%. So you can just see visually how much, I suppose, safer in this case the yield investments have been. And I also have some stragglers here. Oh, this is index growth. So this is kind of like core ETFs in the portfolio. This is a combination of things that are both growthy and yield bearing, and then some US yield stocks as well. Interesting here that the return on those has only been 8% with a drawdown of 37. And if we move down the report, let's pick on those US yield companies. So that's Coca-Cola, Merck, and Pepsi, which are really strong dividend stocks, but the returns haven't been that great. So that's why it's in that bottom right quadrant. You can see my core yield investments here, and then my my growth investments in this bucket here. So again, thinking in terms of a dividend investor and your investment decision making, using custom groups because they can be applied to all of our reports, except tax, is a really nice way to put a dividend and a yield lens on things. And to access those, you just go into account, custom groups, and then you can manage a set number of groups based on what plan type you're on. And here's that growth yield bucketing that I just showed off. And if you have things that are unbucketed, they're over here on the left-hand side, and you simply just drag and drop. So it's really intuitive, and it's quite powerful to think about putting a different lens across our reports at Sharesight. All right. So now I'll kind of move through into the some of the more core reports for the topic. The first one is our future income report. So I've had this report around for a while. It was popular, but it was quite limited. So what this report used to do, it would show you the upcoming dividends that were announced. So it was basically looking, a few weeks into the future, maybe a month at best. So that was useful, but we decided that we wanted to expand that by adding visuals and then going back in time and much farther forward in time as well. So what I'll do in this case, I'll widen the date range out. I'll go back, say, to the 1st of November, and then I will go to, let's just take it out to 2 years from today's date. I'm going to leave these as ungrouped. And a really important point here is show estimated values. If you untick this, you will not get much of a forward-looking view. So this is really that new functionality I talked about in terms of looking into the future. Ensure this is toggled to on, so we'll show the estimated values, and we'll run a report. Right, so now the report's come alive a bit, and you can see how we're presenting the information. So December of 2026, we have a total estimated income amount of $166. Actually, that's too. Let me go back. I'll pull this back. Yeah, here we go. I'll pull this back to more sort of in the present time. So you can see the different colors at work here. So in October of 2025, so last month, I received $816 in income. And if I hover over that, I'll get a breakdown of that. That's all paid, obviously, because it's happened in the past. And then you can see where it gets quite interesting is, say, next month in December, I'm expecting $226 in dividend income. Some of that is announced, some is estimated, right? So we're constantly updating our values and our figures to basically get the information from the companies to label what has been announced versus what's been estimated. And then we also have paid and pending as well. So at the below the chart too is this box corresponds to the kind of the date range that you're looking at above. So you can kind of see the activities through time, which is quite useful. If you've got a portfolio that's heavily relying on dividend income, and this one is not so much, to be fair, this report really comes alive as you move through time. And then as we cast our eye forward into the future, you can see the estimates, throughout, say, next financial year, next calendar year. And again, this goes out to the date I set, which is November of 2027. So this is a much improved visual. People have responded quite well to this. We're also open to other ideas as well as to how you represent this information. We've gone with the bar charts here, but you could also imagine a more of a kind of a flow chart with the cash flow chart as well. So that's something that we're knocking around internally. And again, if you move down the table, you have the same information as per the chart above. So let's just look at, say, December. We've got our $226 estimated for next month. So down here at the table, if I go to December of 2025, it's quite a wide date range. So I got to move all the way down. There it is. There's my 226. And this then shows you the components of that dividend. So what's really nice about this, it shows your local and your domestic holdings, and it also shows those custom investments as well. So there's my trustee NAB term deposit paying me 4.5% per annum, and I'm due a payment from them next month of $37.50. You can see here that the dividends estimated from Microsoft, Google, Coca-Cola are translated into Aussie dollars. Those, of course, are American stocks. You do have the option at the top to show this in portfolio currency or the native currency of the investment. So I've just done that. You can now see a mix of AU and US payments. This one is quite useful to edit the table on. There's more data available here specific to income investors. So if you wanted to, say, add on amount per share and payment frequency, you can apply those changes, and those have now been front-loaded from left to right on the report table. You can see my payment frequency here and the amount per share that we are anticipating from these investments. So it's quite a flexible report, sort of simple in nature, but it does do quite a bit. And again, you can apply your default or your custom groups to this report as well. All right. And now on to the newest report, and that is our calendar. So that lives underneath the performance area. Just a little primer on what this report does. It's quite straightforward. It does what it says it's going to do on the box. It is indeed a calendar. But I think just kind of visually and intuitively, this works quite well because I think a lot of us are so used to kind of running our lives off of our calendars, right? It used to be the desk calendar that we had on the desk, which I quite miss, to be honest. And now it's, the Microsoft Office or the Google Calendar that's probably up in a tab in your browser right now. So it just comports quite well with how we kind of run our day-to-day business and household lives. So it defaults to this month. So there's not much happening this month. But if I move to December, you can now see, remember that number was 226. So that corresponds to my estimated $226 of dividend income that I'm due to receive here. And what I love about this is it shows you when you're due to receive these, right? So on Monday, the 1st of December, I'm expecting my term deposit payment, and then a dividend from Microsoft on the 11th and so forth. If I click, say, the 15th, the pane on the right then dynamically changes, and it shows you the estimates from those two companies. So Coca-Cola and Google. You can see in this case, they've only been announced. And if I click, say, Coca-Cola, I then get a really nice pane that pops up and shows me where I am in this, I guess, dividend journey, if we can call it that. So it's been announced, hasn't gone X yet, hasn't gone paid yet. Nor has it been confirmed received, right? As opposed to going back, say, in the past, and we'll pick dividend. This one's kind of fully confirmed, right? Because it's been announced, it's gone X, it's gone paid, and I have confirmed it as received. And if you want to, there's a useful link here for the past dividends where it'll take you straight into the detail, the nitty-gritty of that, in this case, this distribution itself. So you have your dates, you have your exchange rates, and all the components at hand as well. So that's we think the calendar is a really useful feature, and we're looking to potentially add some more events and information to the calendar. You can see here it's centered around dividends solely, but one thing that we're considering is maybe adding trade dates to the calendar, because obviously the dividends you're receiving are linked to the trades that you've made, just as a handy kind of waypoint if you're looking at a calendar. Another thing could be notes, customizable notes and attachments from users, right? So if you want to put in a quarterly rebalance reminder, this could be a place to do it, for example. And then of course there's something that we're looking into. I'm not quite sure. We haven't progressed it that far yet, though. Is integrating this calendar with iOS and Google calendars so that you can receive notifications through your native calendar apps with your Sharesight dividends and your trades and your reminders in Sharesight. So that is the calendar. And so yeah, again, I guess just stepping back a bit, the new report is the calendar. The greatly enhanced report is the future income. And again, I hope that some of that was a useful reminder of all the things we can do on the dividend side of things, the distribution side of things. One other thing that just came to my mind because we were looking at that Vanguard distribution, I did want to remind people that in our taxable income report for ETFs specifically, I'll go last financial year here to demonstrate what I'm talking about. So I've got all my dividends here from my local share income for Aussie companies. And then I have my trust income down here. And then I have my income tax. Let me just see here. Here we go. Last financial year. Sorry, I did calendar year by mistake. So we go down to our ETFs here in the trust income section. What we do at Sharesight is we work directly with the registries and the ETF providers to get the distribution breakdowns from ETFs. So you'll see this little label pop up when you run this report on a financial year basis. So for VHY, it says enter annual tax statement components. If you click that, you're taken to a pre-filled worksheet, and we've done all the work for you. So we've worked with those companies at the registries. We've done all these nasty little components that you get on the registry statement around things like, foreign income tax offset 0, whatever that is, AMIT decrease $4, like all this stuff that just takes a lot of time, or you pay your accountant to spend time doing it. We're automating that for you, so you can just check that and save and confirm, and that's all incorporated into your dividend income in Sharesight. So it's just a little housekeeping reminder on ETF distributions, because if you're like me or all of us at Sharesight, all of us kind of own ETFs these days, and it does create a bit of an admin overhead with those distributions. So yeah, so with that, I suppose we can turn it over to questions, and I'm happy to take those on now. No questions. That's very interesting. I either did a really nice job explaining things, or everyone's a bit bored thinking about dividends and calendars as we approach the Christmas period here. All right. Well, why don't we just give people just a few more moments to type anything down that they want, and if nothing else comes in, we'll call it a day. Oh, here we go. So, question here, or a statement really. Like the tasks function, the problem I have there seems some discrepancies doing this manually. And then there's more. This requires to check stake and Sharesight. I contact Sharesight and it requires me to send stake info to Sharesight. Problematic. Sometimes they don't align. Yeah, I suppose we do always tell you to check the source of truth, which will either be the broker or the registry. Because again, we're just receiving the information from them, or we're calculating DRP information based on the information that we're licensing. So, we do ask that you check. 99 times out of 100, if not more, it will be correct. But it's not, it's not perfect, just like anything. And I would say too that where you can kind of get unstuck is if you've got a DRP in the past that's been done at an incorrect price, that will compound in terms of its inaccuracy over time. So that's one to watch out for, especially. I can see my colleague Priyanka is maybe typing in the Q&A to provide probably more detailed information that I can give on the call, to be honest. But I'll move on. Transferring shares from other brokers that are not linked. Well, I suppose that kind of gets to portfolio setup questions. So when you create a Sharesight account, you're then asked to create a portfolio, right? That portfolio, we like to encourage customers to think of that as a tax entity. So Is that a discretionary investment account that you have? Is that a company account? Is that an SMSF? Once you do that, that applies the tax rules to the portfolio. And then it's up to you to decide however many brokers you want to link or not with that portfolio. So you can import from, say, ComSec, and you get all your historical trades that come in. You can also import from Westpac or CMC, and it'll combine all that information. It'll also triage it to help understand if there are any duplicates or things like that. But it certainly is the case that people have multi-broker histories. My encouragement would be to start with the oldest trades first, which is just more intuitive. And it'll also avoid Sharesight telling you you've got negative holdings and balances and blah, blah, blah. So start your import with the old ones first, and then work your way towards present day from there. Let's see. Someone says, not a question, but I love the ongoing development. Thank you. We certainly appreciate that. Yeah, I would say that aside from the mobile app, I think that the calendar and the future income stuff was the second or maybe the first most requested piece of feedback from customers on a worldwide basis, particularly for customers in Australia, given our dividend history here and our franking credit regime, and also from the UK as well, where we have a growing profile. Someone asking if the calendar will be added to the starter plan. We can certainly take that down as feedback. It's a very fair question. We'll consider that. Ivan asks, is there any work being done to integrate industry super funds? That's a great question. So at the moment, there are industry funds that are available in Sharesight already. So let me show you. What I'm doing here is I'm just manually adding a trade, and let's pick Aware Super, hopefully. Yeah. So you can see we have the funds for Aware Super, and these are all the different permutations, super defensive, super balanced, property, blah, blah. We get that information from Morningstar. And in most cases, the unit prices are updated on a daily basis for industry funds. The trick, though, is that you're not, making a traditional buy transaction. It's just a contribution into the super fund. So you can kind of proxy that with a buy trade or an opening balance just by adding it as a normal investment. One thing that we are looking at, and it's very much in a whiteboard phase now, is the ability to have an automated super contribution feature, because it's a statutory requirement for Australians. And if you enter salary, we can then apply the contributions perhaps on your behalf. But the super funds are in there now, and it indeed can be done. Someone's asking about an issue with the Excel reports are out by 1 day. I don't know when that'll be fixed, but I can chase that up. And I don't know. It's probably a time zone thing, to be honest, where we're in this time zone, and most of the stuff that happens is on US time zones, if not GMT. So yeah, we'll look into that for you. Let's keep on going down here. Is there a way to show you've entered and finalized the annual tax statement components? Box sheet. Oh, that's interesting. It should, in my thinking, it would disappear after you've entered and saved the tax statement components. But if it doesn't, please just put that into the chat with our CS team, because that's confusing, and that would be annoying. I get that. Thank you. Integrated Google Calendar would be amazing. With the income forecast for dividends, will you also add drop forecast, which I assume is DRP forecast? Yeah, that's a good idea, actually, as well. Adding in DRP information to the calendar. Yeah, that's a good piece of feedback. Someone's asking if you can add a US 401k into Sharesight. Well, you can. I mean, you can enter all the investments in the 401k into Sharesight. We do have support for Fidelity, Schwab, various other 401k providers in the States, so you can do that. We don't have, say, a US tax setting for 401ks though, which is just not on our roadmap at this time. Can you or will you be able to track option income? Yes, this is a very, very, very popular piece of feedback. So we're looking at, well, we already have the options data in kind of our database, if you like. We're scoping out what needs to be done on an interface and a reporting standpoint to handle options appropriately. But given how popular options are now for DIY investors, it is something we will be looking to add in the coming year. Yeah, for sure. Um, let's see. Trevor's asking, I have a question on how ETF AMIT report interacts with DRPs. It's done on a pro rata basis per payment, which then affects the DRP shares. That's a good question. I would think that it should be done on a prorated basis, but what the knock-on effect of that is, I'm not sure. We can definitely take that one back though, because we want to ensure that it's hyper accurate. I mean, that's kind of what we're all about, Trevor. So um, if you can just flick that into our chat, we'll definitely take that back because that should be working. Um, Someone's asking for unlisted investments where I manually manage custom instrument prices. Is there a way to attach or upload supporting documents to the unit prices I've entered? At this time, no, but we have received that feedback before. So if I just go into that manual or custom investment, as we call it, which in this case was TD. So you can add attachments to the holding level itself in here. And then if we go into the manage custom investment prices, and I'm doing this live because this has come up, at a price. No, at this time it's not there. But yeah, I was just thinking of this page. I was thinking this is a file attachment page. This is just a bulk price upload page. But that's a very good question because, of course, if an asset is repriced as private, like an investment in a private tech company, you'll want the supporting documentation in there against that price change. So I think that's a very good piece of feedback. That's we'll definitely take that back. Um, okay. Okay. How are the estimated dividends generated for future income? Yeah, quite straightforward, Tim. We look at the historicals and we just apply them going forward. We're not doing anything fancy in terms of, estimating, inflation or putting any kind of subjective analysis on what we think is going to happen with that company and its ability to pay out dividends. So it is quite straightforward. We did tinker with adding in some kind of variability levels and things like that, but we'll kind of see what the feedback is and go from there. Um, Okay, Victor says, love the calendar. Thank you, Victor. I would like some as simple as more specificity in the overview timeframes. Calendar year, financial year, custom. Yes. No, Victor, I'm with you completely. So I think, Victor, what you're saying is something that I was talking to the team about just yesterday. So you've got your overview page, which is, as I said, it's kind of a souped up performance report these days. But in the performance report itself, we're going to look at redoing this entire report, or I should say, enhancing it. And one of the things I'd like to see there is adding multiple time periods. So you'd imagine a setting feature here where you'd have like, year to date, 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10 years since inception. And that's just a table that just is automatically updated as you run the report. I think that's a no-brainer, in addition to having benchmark information on performance as well. So that's something we're considering. Yeah. Um, okay. Someone says some dividends are not rounded down and a balance brought forward. Some donate the surplus funds. I know the DRP details are captured by Sharesight. The companies that donate to charity isn't. Is Sharesight looking at adding this option with all the focus on tax? No, is Sharesight looking at this option with all the focus on tax ethics reporting? No, we haven't looked at that function. And to be honest, that's the first that I've personally heard of that. So I'm not sure if that affects the income treatment or the tax treatment of the dividend itself, but if that is something that's certainly popular, please put that into our chat with our CS team, and we'll see if that's come up before. When I say that, I'm not kind of palming people off. What we do with our CS team, and they're sitting right here in the office in City, they every day, they're talking to our customers or helping customers or getting feedback. What we do on a monthly basis is we look at all the feedback we get and we rank it and score it, and we then determine what we build and what we don't build. So by all means, please send your feedback in. That's how we've decided that options are important. That's how we decided that the future income was important and the calendar was important as well. So they are well and truly part of the product team, if you like. So please fire that through in the chat bot thing in the bottom right of Sharesight. Cool. Alrighty. Well, I think with that, we might just leave it there. If you have any more questions or feedback, please do send them through. And thank you everyone for joining today. And again, a recording of this will be made uh, available to everyone after by email, I think. So yeah, thank you very much.